The Democratic National Convention is kicking off today in Chicago, and Felix and myself are headed to Chicago tomorrow. The whole world will be watching our show at the DNC. But just to open up things for today's episode, Felix, I've been waiting all weekend to ask you this, but you referenced over the weekend on Twitter. Just a character from out of the past, from previous elections. I'm referring, of course, to anti-Bernie guy, Mr. Weeks. You all remember Mr. Weeks, and you said he is currently embroiled in a controversy, or I'm hearing Mr. Weeks' name for the first time in years, and I'm just wondering if you could explicate for me and our listeners what Mr. Weeks has been up to and how he's made an appearance in this campaign.
Okay, so for people who don't remember, and, I hope that you do. I hope that you have kept this guy in your mind because you should have. But Mr. Weeks was a 2016 and 2020, he was in that network of people with like Al Giordano and people like that.
R.I.P. PBUH.
Yeah. Peace be upon to Al Giordano. Al Giordano converted to Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster on his deathbed, actually. That's what I'm hearing. But Mr. Weeks he distinguished himself even in that crowd because he was crazy on Twitter, and he would say things like Bernie's a fake fucking Jew, which was hilarious. But then he breached containment. He breached containment out of the Twitter world, out of saying insane things in the Twitter world, and he entered into the real world by buying an advertising truck that would drive around Manhattan, one of those like billboard trucks, if you've seen them. And it had on the side of it, in quotation marks, Bernie Sanders said that women who got cervical cancer got it because they weren't getting orgasms. And this was referencing...
You never see anyone try and disprove that.
Yeah, no,
they just say it's offensive. Where's the counter argument? I've yet to see it.
Yeah. I'd like to see the data.
Referencing an essay that Bernie wrote in 1969, which, as Alex said, has not been disproven. We don't know.
Prostate cancer, we all know prostate cancer.
Yeah.
Nutting, it reduces the rate of it. So I don't know.
Yeah, and what do you think? Like, good or bad pipe is good for your health? Probably not.
It's reasonable that it would be bad for your health.
Yeah.
Has any of Michael Douglas's wives or Catherine Zeta-Jones, has she been befallen by cervical cancer? I think not.
Exactly. Like, every time you see a woman with cervical cancer, she's always got sort of like a nebbish, like, presumably small-dicked husband.
A non-pipe laying style husband.
Yeah. But he would drive around with that advertising truck, and it had that, and it had not a QR code, but like the entire URL for his podcast, and then a GoFundMe link for one of those GoFundMes that was very popular around this time, which was like, send me the craziest person you've ever seen. Send me to Vermont to investigate Bernie Sanders and prove he's a liar. And you were, supposed to, no QR code, anything like that. You're supposed to just write this down in traffic. Donate to Mr. Weeks now. But he is embroiled in a controversy because he has been saying for a few years now that he was Barron Trump's nanny, and that Barron Trump, he said that he was Barron Trump's nanny, and he's like, oh yeah, if we're taking Mr. Weeks' word over what his career has been, he has been an undercover police officer, a nanny, Barron Trump's nanny. He's been involved in drug busts on the police's side. A remarkable life, Benjamin Button-esque. But he said that he owned a daycare for the wealthy, and that Barron Trump would punch his actual nanny, like his household nanny, in front of him and like bite kids. But Mr. Weeks wouldn't kick him out because he said, I'm a safe space for a lot of kids, which I thought was nice of him. But anyhow, this is my favorite type of thing you see on Twitter, is when people of opposing sides are exactly as insane as one another, because he's been fighting with like a Trump woman who's been proving that he's an insane liar by being like, wait a minute, you're not licensed like anywhere in New York for any of this. Like, If you need licenses to do this, you don't have any of them. And Mr. Weeks proved that this woman who dug up that stuff on him, he proved that she has like 8 domestic violence cases against her. So it's really like, it's the best stuff you see on Twitter when people are matched up on like an equal insanity level. That has been I've been very happy to see him back. I've always missed him. I hope he never goes away. I love Mr. Weeks.
I mean, it's Mr. Weeks. It's been Mr. Years since I've thought of him, but I was thrilled that he's made a return, because I remember back in 2020, the genius to like you said, to break the containment of social media by hiring a billboard truck to just be in physical reality, sharing your posts with people, I thought was a brilliant development in sort of political sloganeering, in online personality disorder. But Felix, you mentioned his career with the police. A shout out to someone who dug up this absolutely amazing Mr. Weeks story. This is from March of 2020. He writes, "You know why I've never tried cocaine? I was working in a gang unit. They raided a house filled with gang members. Bullets started to fly between gangs and police. A gang member was hit, and one detective threw cocaine on the bullet wound. It fried his wound, slowed down the bleeding."
That because it's a vasoconstrictor, but I don't think it would work that fast. I don't think it would.
No, Alex. I think you're giving way too much thought to this.
Yeah,
I think it's just like it was like he thinks cocaine is like xenomorph blood or something. It's burns
like gunpowder.
you.
It's the QuickTime event with Arthur Morgan when the O'Driscolls get him. When you put the gunpowder in your bullet wound and then light it on fire with the candle. Yeah, I think that's what he was remembering.
No, but when he says I was working in a gang unit, isn't that just called being a police officer? Like, who works in gang units with the police who aren't members of the police? Was he just a consultant? Was he? And then, okay, and if he was, why was he going on raids where bullets were flying? I mean, look, the fact that cocaine can sear your flesh shut to save you from bleeding to death from a bullet wound is, I mean, that's the marquee lie in this story. But I was working with a gang unit. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Is he back on Twitter? I got to do my own research on Mr. Weeks, I guess. Because I know he got banned from Twitter. I think he was one of those people that was doing a bot farm.
I love that. I love that about the gang unit thing, because it's like, can you pick up temp hours as like a member of a SWAT team? Or was this like as part of his role as a nanny? Or is it just like Mr. Weeks is such a, like, people outside of New York don't know this, but in New York, he's such a like beloved, like almost like a Pee Wee Herman type figure that people like doing their jobs around the city see Mr. Weeks walking by and are like, "Hey, Mr. Weeks."
Public masturbation. That's what he does with his truck.
They're like, "Hey, Mr. Weeks, like, do you want to take part in this drug bust?" Or like a bunch of investment bankers. "Oh my God, it's Mr. Weeks. Do you want to, get in on this merger and acquisitions we're doing?" Like, hey, firefighters, everyone's inviting him to their whatever job they're doing. That's how I picture it.
He's like a cross between Pee Wee Herman and, with his work in the cocaine gang drug unit, Pee Wee Kirkland as well. Mr. Weeks is a man of many talents.
Maybe he's at that daycare and he's interrogating the children of rich people to find out which of their parents have cocaine. Like, do any of your parents have like bricks of sugar that they sell? Do they have a lot of people coming by their house at weird hours and they have like white powder that they say is salt or something? And then someone's like, "Yeah, I do." And then next thing you know, there's a SWAT team breaking down their door and he's there.
I love that he gets to be part of it.
Yeah. But like, I assume Mr. Weeks is still a diehard Democratic partisan. Like, and he hasn't switched sides. Is he still riding with Biden? Well, seemingly riding with Kamala now. Is he going to be at the DNC?
That is something I hate about the Democrats is they don't really reward people like this, even though they should. Like, they only reward people who are like already a part of like the actual party infrastructure, not like, the insane people that maybe get like a few dozen dollars to yell at people. Like that is a different, like the Republican Party would reward Mr. Weeks.
Yeah, he would have a speaking slot to share some of his stories. to share some of his.
Oh yeah,
to share some of his memories, his life experience with the nation.
He is the exact type of person they would get to speak at like an RNC type event, like a guy who goes up there and is like, I was an undercover police officer / daycare worker, and I was a sniper at night. I was a night sniper.
Night sniper.
that was my graveyard shift job.
If you have night vision, it's really easy.
He would switch the lie. And he would be like, "Oh yeah, I was Ella Emhoff's nanny, and she actually she punched her real nanny for."
This was 2 years ago, by the way. She was 26.
Actually, I do have an article today about how Ella Emhoff supports ketamine therapy for her bad back. So, hey, I mean, will that if you dump ketamine on an open wound, will that cause any effect? Will that save your life, or is that only cocaine?
People got to mix it up. People are using too much ketamine, just all day, every day. Do it a couple nights a week or something. Like Elon Musk, he just wakes up and starts doing ketamine, and we all know about what happened to Chandler.
Yeah.
Or nitrous now if you're Kanye West.
Yeah, or nitrous. Oh man, those will just melt your brain. Those two together.
I don't know. Like, how does someone with like $1 billion get into nitrous? That boggles the mind.
There's a lot about nitrous and the people who use it that boggle the mind.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
it's just not that fun. That fun.
It's a drug for ninth graders. Like,
yeah.
I gotta say though, I mean, like a good representation of the fact that Kanye West did get addicted to nitrous oxide is that he made Milo Yiannopoulos his manager. But I gotta say, those texts with Milo Yiannopoulos are some of the funniest things I've ever seen. When it was the evil dentist. Who, by the way, if you have a full tattoo on your head, I don't even want you being my vet. Let alone any kind of oral surgeon. No thanks. But he was just like, issue number 1, the full legalization of recreational nitrous. And Milo's reply was, surely you're joking. Surely you are joking.
How would that go? Like, did they think like, okay, we're gonna like use our connection with Trump and like do what? Like show him Kanye now and be like, oh, look how normal he is. Shouldn't everyone be able to do nitrous? Look how much he has it together.
Like, imagine that process, like getting dispensaries open for like listed as recreational nitrous.
Yeah.
Like, imagine like the legal battles that would go on and like them discussing that like in the California State House. Like, they're gonna have dispensaries that are like they look like Apple stores, and they give you the balloon and the big tanks and stuff. Like, it's already like as a million people have pointed out, it's already sort of legal. Like, you can get it for whipped cream, you can get it for auto
There's restaurant items,
for cars,
car modifications.
That guy was pointing out. But you can't really get just the giant tanks. Like, you can. There are certain places where you can get them, but it's not. There isn't a store on every corner that's advertising. You can huff this shit. It's good for you. It feels so good. Which is, I guess, what they want.
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess I'm for that. I'm for legalization or whatever.
I love how, like, in the middle of this conversation about, legalizing this so the dentist can own, like, a dispensary chain. That's really what it's about, right? But, he, in the middle of the conversation, like him and the evil dentist and Milo are going back and forth. And then in the middle of it, Kanye's like, can I have nitrous today? And he spells it all fucked up. He is like, he could be permanently like goofified by nitrous.
Well, it certainly rhymes. It certainly rhymes with a certain history, but
it fixes anti-Semitism. Have you noticed he hasn't said ever since he started nitrous, he's like been really nice about Jewish people. So like maybe it is medicinal.
Did they invent it?
I don't know if that was us. It feels like it could be us. I could definitely see that.
Let's get AIPAC and Democratic Majority for Israel on board with the legalized recreational nitrous train.
It was probably the Yippies.
Yeah.
You could probably say it was the Jews somehow in a positive way. Like it was Jerry Rubin or something. He brought it to the DNC in 1968, and that's how it got introduced to the wider population.
Well, speaking of the DNC, like I said, this week is the Democratic National Convention, and this is a sort of a Kamala's coronation. But I did want to check in with the current occupant of the White House. People forget Joe Biden is still president. I know that's hilarious to say, but it is in fact still president. And there was a fairly amazing there's a fairly amazing piece in Axios this morning. Because, at this point, it's pretty much all acknowledged. Joe Biden is addressing the DNC tonight, and he's passing the torch up. But people will have generally come to regard his address to the DNC tonight as essentially the final nail on the coffin of his political career. I mean, he's been in office for 60 years now, and this is essentially what would be his exit and his sort of a legacy defining moment. But this is his exit from national politics. And the Axios piece is basically about how he's still sore about that. And the headline is "Behind the Curtain, Biden's Bitter, Sweet Exit." And this is by Mike Allen and Jim Vandehei. And it begins with this story here. President Biden hasn't had much to smile about lately, but we hear he got a huge laugh on a recent call when he was told about this encounter at Fenway Park in Boston. A former top White House official under President Obama ran into Mike Barnicle, the Morning Joe regular and close friend and ardent defender of Biden, and said, "Isn't it great that fucking guy finally figured out he had to quit?" Barnicle was tired and wasn't having it. "What guy?" he replied. "Joe Biden," the West Wing alumnus replied. "You know something? Fuck you," Barnicle replied, "and fuck all your friends with their anonymous quotes from the papers. Put your name on it next time," and kept walking. A source familiar with Biden's reaction to the story told us he might still be laughing. About what? An angry old man yelling at someone at Fenway Park?
That is such a confusing old man story. Oh my God. That is so much like the story. That is so much like the stories my grandmother tells me. I saw my friend, but I thought it was my other friend. What?
And Mike Barnicle, probably the most this is was Charles Dickens his father? Mike Barnicle is just it's too perfect for what his job in DC is, which is to go on Morning Joe and pretend to be Joe Biden's friend, and then call Joe Biden to tell him a story about him telling one of his former staffers to go fuck himself at Fenway Park because he made an anonymous quote in the paper. But basically,
that's such a bad story. If someone was like, "Hey, I have a great story for you," someone was calling you fat and stupid, and I told them to fuck off. It's okay, couldn't you just not told me that?
And in Axios, it says here why it matters. And it says, Biden's friends tell us that as the president heads to his Democratic National Convention send-off in Chicago tonight, he's somewhat relieved and pretty nostalgic, but also still stunned and pissed about the way he was pushed out of his reelection race. What we're hearing. Tonight's primetime speech by Joe Biden Jr., Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., 81, will be a heartfelt passing of the torch.
They should take the junior off.
Yeah, I know. Why
you don't get to be junior anymore.
I've never heard junior appended to his full name, but this is the big picture. For the first time in the epic life of Scranton Joe, it's the end of the road. Until now, aides had compared Biden with a shark. To breathe, he has to keep moving. Now the future holds a presidential library and retirement in Delaware. Then it says basically that Biden is some Biden stalwarts blame the press for forcing him out and now see that what they see as fawning coverage of Harris.
What were they supposed to do? They gave him no other choice. They gave him the nice route to leave, and he wouldn't do it. They had to keep pressing the buttons and threaten to sick the Department of Justice on Hunter or whatever, or start killing his family members.
Yeah, this is the Democratic Party. They're not known for springing into action. It got so bad that they had to do he forced them to actually be proactive for the first time ever. Yeah, again, in his interview, his softball interview that was supposed to clear this all up and be like, "Hey, I had a cold. It was a bad night." His "I'm not too old" interview was the one where he said "Havuda bubba." The craziest thing I've ever heard a president say, "Havuda bubba."
And whether it's Mike Barnicle or Joe Biden himself or these staffers that are seething over what they feel is the media treating them unfairly. Look, you can believe all of that, and like, because if that's what you believe and you're loyal to Joe Biden, but like, how do you look at this and a presidential election that's gone from like in the space of 48 hours from one that virtually everyone agreed the Democrats are going to lose to one that is in the worst case scenario for the Democrats, across the board toss up competitive election. And like all they had to do is that the only reason that that's the case is because Joe Biden stepped down. That's it. So like, how can you continue to be mad about this and seethe about this? Like all the people who up until a couple of weeks ago that were just like, replacing Biden is suicide. This is madness, and it will never happen. It can never happen. And it's just like, well, now it's happened. And obviously it's been to the Democratic Party's benefit. They should have done this months ago, if not years ago. But I just don't get where this anger is coming. I mean, I guess I do understand where the anger is coming from. Like
it's his fault, but he did get the entire party kind of decided that they don't care about him anymore. That they're not going to give lip service to the whole Joe Biden myth about like his wife's car accident, Beau Biden, and how he came back from Iraq, and Hunter, and how he's troubled and he loves his son. Like they dropped that shit completely.
Yeah.
They're just like, he was used to getting that treatment for so long, for decades. And people just shattered the myth because they got so sick of his bullshit. And they just said, this guy's too old. He sucks. He's awful. Just get him the fuck out of there. And I'm sure that was a shock to him. But like I said, they gave him the easy way so many times.
Yeah. I mean, this is entirely self-inflicted from him. I mean, I can imagine that this is kind of an upsetting realization to have to face. But like, just look at the poll results. I mean, God,
Biden probably the best thing he ever did.
Biden really must want to kill himself, because it was just like overnight they're like, party left for dead, now a viable contender in presidential election after old man goes away.
It's like It's a Wonderful Life. It's like the episode of Fairly Odd Parents where Timmy realizes that everyone's actually is better off if he died.
It's like, the angel takes him to see Pottersville, and it's like, Democrats win election, nation healed, Trump away forever. And he's like, he's seeing his family members, and they're like, the one thing we don't miss is Joe Biden. I'm so glad he died before running for re-election.
His family, they have a bunch of well-behaved dogs. They have a golden retriever that's like just perfectly quiet and well-behaved. I guess they are better off.
Imagine spending 60 years of your life trying to be president, and then you finally do the thing that you've wanted your entire life, and then but it happened too late. It just happened too late. And they cruelly, the party took it away from him just because he couldn't stay awake or speak in public anymore.
Yeah, and it's also like, for Biden especially, you don't get to complain about this because like Biden had the most like, it was his zombie campaign, his primary campaign, all the way until South Carolina, and then O'Bunkler and the Super Friends, they all got together and were like, okay, it's Joe. The exact same mechanism that pushed him out is also the one that basically
gave him it,
as the nominee in the first place. But Joe is, dementia or not, he's delusional enough to think, no, I did that myself. Like it's the same thing with like when they have surrogates talk to him, activists or pressure groups, when they would talk to Joe after his inauguration, and he would be like, I don't have to give you shit because I won. You didn't do anything to help me. Which always made the like we're junior partners in the coalition thing so funny to me, because it's like, yeah, this guy really pays up when it's when the ledger is due.
I mean, I remember like right after his election, there was that. I think you're referencing it as like a meeting between him and the leaders of the NAACP. And
he said he was the first white boy to ever call Trump racist. They were like, hey, we want like that. We talked about this during the election, and he was like, I was the first one. I said it when no one else called Trump racist, which that's a great insight into how delusional he is. Every Democrat was doing that, but he's like, I was the first white one.
Imagine if there was someone with Joe Biden's stature and build in the NFL. Now imagine what he would do in the NFL as a cornerback. But
you couldn't give him CTE.
That's true.
It might actually make him smarter. It might actually loop around, and you keep hitting him in the head, and he's suddenly talking like he did in 1972.
Yeah, he gets sacked, and he's like, "Wait a minute! If I keep giving Netanyahu weapons, then like he's not afraid to go to a regional war." Oh, whoops!
Maybe I should get a little dog, just a little lap dog. Then I wouldn't have to worry about it.
But no, I feel exactly. I think you make an excellent point that like the exact mechanism that crowned him as the president in 2020, that like, you know, got Bernie out of there, made sure he was the nominee, gave him the presidency, is the exact same mechanism that removed him from running for re-election, because it was never him. It was never him. And like, honestly, like, and you know, I mean, like, I think I've made my feelings about Kamala pretty well known on this show. You know, suffice to say, I'm not impressed by her, nor do I like her at all. But I mean, just in the immediate shift in the polling, and like other people have made this point, but like, it goes to show like how much was just being left on the bench by the Democrats by like refusing to run anyone for president other than these like desiccated party grandees like Hillary Clinton or Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., the third Esquire.
You know what? Like, not even the polling, but like my non-scientific metric for like checking the temperature of the country. The biggest shift, the most gigantic swing I have seen is in my favorite metric, DJ Academics' comments when he posts anything about politics. And like, it's insane. Like,
because Academics is a big time Trump supporter.
Oh yeah, he loves Trump. He loves Trump.
Yo, you see Unk's comments at the NRA? You fucking with them or not?
Yeah, Trump is Unk to him.
Unk was glazing that firefighter, and there was a Giat right behind him.
But you know, whenever he would post a politics thing, it used to be like filled with people that were like, "Yeah, Trump 2020, we're gonna get the economy back." You know, woo, like, oh yeah, I like all types of people going like, everything was great under him. Fuck Biden. And now
Kodak Black is out of prison. Thank you, Trump.
Yeah. But now, ever since since Biden stepped down, every guy who says something pro-Trump, there are like 20 comments underneath him that are like, "You're so fucking stupid. You think Trump? You like Trump because he got in a song with Kodak Black? You're a fucking idiot." Trump's like it is an overwhelming shift. It's almost like it's 2017 again in Academics' comments, because like, you know, not just the quality of the candidate, but like the effect that it had on the base. Like we've said it before, but having Joe Biden in there exhausted and embarrassed the Democratic base to the point that they did not want to
nobody wanted to defend him.
Public.
Yeah, nobody wanted to show out for him at all.
Even just the basic celebrity shit.
Yeah.
Like people who endorsed Obama without even thinking because he was just a Democrat and he was under the age of 80. Like, that didn't happen for Biden. You had to call those people and like, you had to get Katy Perry on the phone and be like, "Can you please endorse the Democrat?"
Yeah. If you're a celebrity, it does like fuck with your credibility if you're standing next to like a guy who doesn't know where he is and you're like, "This is the best guy for this job. This guy's amazing. He knows where he is. He's doing great."
Yeah, now I mean, it was only just like a very small cadre of like elite Biden defenders who, you know, they've switched gears fairly seamlessly. But Alex, who was that? Who is that account that I saw you sharing the other day where like it was someone defending Kamala, but they were saying like all the watermelon people are coming after Miss Stacy, and then all the replies were like, "They came for Miss Stacy? No, they don't know what they're messing with." Like what the fuck was that referring to?
Oh yeah, that was so I couldn't figure it out. I looked it up. I think it was like Miss Denise or something.
Miss Denise, yeah.
Yeah, these people who are, I assume, Israelis pretending to be African Americans, just talking in that very weird way and saying like they disrespected our elders. Are you fucking serious? And like just like that video of that old lady talking about Palestine, and they were like, "Oh, if she's the type of grandma that would tell you to go and fetch a switch, and if she didn't get the switch, she would hit you with the whole tree." And it's like, what? Like, what century are we in?
Yeah.
Like what? It's just. I feel like I'm going insane reading that shit.
When is it good to listen to elders? Because I thought, like, as a demographic group, elders in this country were dog shit, whose opinions should be disregarded on everything across the board.
And they're not even really elders; they're baby boomers. Who are like they were like the first millennials. They invented permanent adolescence. They're not elders.
I hate when people use the term elders like that. Like, they're not Deckard Cain. It's just like a stupid old person. You would hate them if you were behind them in line in TSA. They wouldn't be an elder then.
Also,
they're a stupid old person. Yeah.
You don't have old person cred if you're on TikTok. You're just a millennial with bad skin at that point.
Like I have white guy tacos and
what is that? Like mayonnaise and tuna? What are you doing?
Pretty much ground beef and cheese.
That's okay. Do you put any flavor in it?
No. Here's the deal. No, they said to be careful and let her know this, that black pepper is the top of the spice level in Minnesota.
But to move on from Biden to Kamala and Tim Walz, the Tim Walz VP selection, the pseudo controversy that happened this week because of some treacly video in which Tim Waltz declared that he likes white guy tacos. I mean, well, first of all, I'm just going to say to Alex and Felix, I know that this is a prime form of social media based discourse is when white people get to opine on food and what is good food and what is bad food and what is traditional food and what is goy slop. But
Laura Booboldo.
It is kind of the perfect discourse for them.
It is. It's a
because it gets people talking about it. It's like,
because it's a way.
What city has the best barbecue? Actually, I have some opinions on this.
But obviously, the right wing is going insane over this, and I want to read some of their reactions to it. But like all food discourse is just displaced race discourse among white people, and it's usually like white people wanting to signify that they're cultured and they like spicy food, or in Tim Walz's case, sort of being self-deprecating about not liking spicy food. And then you have the actual right wingers who have, like, instead of ignoring this trifle, this absolute drivel, have chosen to basically declare Tim Walz a race traitor for lightly making fun of the dietary habits of midwestern white people.
Yeah, this is a like global right wing problem where like they hate Tim Waltz and they hate Kamala and they hate like lib stuff, but it's like I know a lot of like regular Democrats in my family. None of them watched that video. They're not the only people that are like going to the Kamala website and like, or the Kamala YouTube and like refreshing and like being the first 1,000 views on a video that's called like, Tim Waltz and Kamala chef it up are these insane right wing people. Like I cannot imagine consuming that much Kamala content.
Yeah, I would just scan right past it. It's nothing. Yeah. Like I like white people like okay.
Yeah.
It's like a hack. It's a hack observation from 50 years ago. Like white people like mayonnaise. Like I don't know how you get offended by that. Even if you're doing it cynically, like there's got to be something better to jump on.
Yeah,
wasn't he governor and someone like got out of jail and then killed somebody? Like there's really nothing else.
Usually that's the case. Well, Alex, I saw right before we came on, Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin was attacking Tim Walz for getting married on the anniversary of Tiananmen Square.
Not even to a Chinese woman. Completely unrelated.
Yeah. The thing is that Tim Walz did teach abroad in China. And he was in China when Tiananmen Square happened. And then he went on a honeymoon with his wife, but he got married on the 5th anniversary of Tiananmen Square. And his wife said, because he wanted to choose a date that he wouldn't forget. But I mean, no, he wanted to get married to support the Chinese Communist Party, and we don't know.
So he was against it, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, that's a normal position. Like I think if you got Xi Jinping on the phone and asked him, like, did you guys maybe do a little too much with that? Like, maybe there was like a better strategic way to deal with that. He'd be like, yeah, maybe. We could have smoothed it over if we had like another crack at it.
Well, I just want to read this. This is a news. This is a news summary from Fox News about the the headline here is Harrison Walls' racist banter about white guy tacos spurs social media backlash. And it says here, a Harris campaign video released Thursday featuring vice presidential candidate Tim Walz deadpanning that he eats white guy tacos is getting some blowback from critics on social media. Adding fuel to the fire was Vice President Kamala Harris's snarky response in the video, with critics saying it mocked white people. I have white guy tacos, and Walz says in the campaign video of him and Harris discussing some of their favorite food. What does that mean? Like mayonnaise and tuna? What are you doing? Harris quipped back. Walz responded by saying it was pretty much just ground beef and cheese. That's okay, Harris then added. Do you put any flavor in it? No, Walz responded, garnering a cackle from Harris. The exchange did not fly with Harris and Walz critics. Some complained of racism, while others highlighted the double standard elucidated by the video, arguing that if Senator J.D. Vance, Republican of Ohio, were to say there's something similar about black people, he would get excoriated. And it's like,
what kind of campaign video would that be? What they're imagining a campaign video where JD Vance is just like sitting in a room alone and he's like, black people tacos probably have fucking shit in them. Like, who would that be for? I don't okay. I guess people wouldn't like that. I guess you're right.
Yeah, no, it's like, this is my favorite kind of right-wing race commentary, when they accurately assess that there is, in fact, a double standard about what kind of racial comments you can make based on the race of the person saying it and the race of the person it's directed at. Yeah, there is kind of a glaring double standard in American life. But hey, look, if you want to buck that trend, go with God. But don't be surprised at the outcome. It's like, what would what's the video that they want from JD Vance where he's just like, oh, I like listening to music the black people way through the speakers on my phone on a bus full of people.
I don't want to make this happen, but if JD Vance made a video where he just said, "Don't wash your chicken," I think you could create.
That would be the best.
You could create the mirror image of this disc. Yeah. If they were smart, that's what they would do.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have a video where JD Vance is like, "Don't boil Fabuloso, whatever you do."
Yeah. My mom
like,
did growing up, and it exploded.
JD Vance has got the eyeliner on, and he's just like stammering about, you're actually spreading more bacteria. If you cook it to a normal temperature, it kills all foodborne pathogens.
I mean, why not? Why not do that if you're the Trump campaign at this point? Like, it's not getting better. You may as well just go for something you really want to do. JD Vance, he can do a different video about a different race every day.
So going on to the Fox News article, see, folks, it's funny that white people hate spices. Not racist at all. Just funny, posted the Daily Wire's Ben Shapiro. And it's just like, okay, look, it's not that funny. I mean, like you said, this is like the limpest form of observational racial humor and self-deprecation you could possibly come up with. But it's also not racist, because it's a white guy saying it about himself, and it's also a white person. So I once again, it goes back to this double standard that, look, I don't make the rules, but I will enforce them. And if Ben Shapiro wants to violate that double standard, he's free to. But where's my favorite? Oh, this is my favorite one. This isn't cute. Walz is being used as a clown to mock white people, said Fox News columnist David Marcus. If Walz doesn't like spicy food, that's fine, but it has nothing to do with being a white guy. And then my favorite reaction, Hispanics are not tacos, said Senator Ted Cruz in response to the remark.
That was good.
Hispanics are not tacos.
He was the only guy I thought that came out of this looking good, because someone needed to say that. What point was he trying to make? Was he saying that they were pandering to Latinos by making tacos?
It doesn't really make sense.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like Tim Walz was trying to pander to Latinos.
Yeah.
It didn't really have anything to do with that.
And the guy who said that this is not funny, he's being used to mock white people. No, the point of that video is to pander to white people, not to minorities. Yeah. It's to pander to white people who want to have a sense of racial camaraderie, where they can kind of poke fun, where they can poke fun at racial difference, which is everyone's been very, obviously hesitant to do because of, things like double standards and the country's current climate. But this is a video to pander to white people. And to his point about how if he doesn't like spicy food, that's fine, but it has nothing to do with being white. I would say that's true. but that is definitely not true if you're talking about Midwestern white people. And out of my limited, but I shall say Midwestern adjacent life experience, I can say that is 1,000% true. 1,000% true. The Midwest white guy dad does indeed think pepper is too spicy.
Yeah, it depends on generation, really. Like, I'm not the first person to make this point, but a lot of Gen X and millennial guys, like normie white guys, are really into hot sauce. Like, way too into hot sauce. They get like the diarrhea fuel hot sauce that's meant to give you hemorrhoids. And they just pour it all over everything. And they're like, I can fucking handle it, man. I can fucking handle bottles and bottles of this shit. I'm so cool.
Give me that Reaper pepper, bro. I want that Reaper pepper.
Well, Tim Waltz type, right, a version of spicy food. But his son, who is wearing like DC skate shoes when he's 39, he's doing all the hot sauce challenges, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, wait, here's another really good one. Ian Howarth, a conservative speaker, writer, and podcast host, argued that Walz's remark would cause riots if it was done in reverse by a Republican. And I just want to say, like, just say the thing, like, what would that look like if it was done in reverse by a Republican? The fact that they can't even speculate on what that would sound like should give you the idea of how offensive it would probably come off as sounding.
Trump saying that tacos are too spicy? That, like... I went to Mexico and had the authentic food, and it was too spicy. Like, that's what it would... I don't know. I don't think people would even notice.
Oh, and then best of all, Weird Mike Cernovich got in on it by finding... Weird Mike Cernovich did some actual gumshoe shoe leather reporting in that he found an award-winning recipe that Tim Waltz had won at some Minnesota state dinner, a hot plate dinner. Or a hot dish, sorry to my Midwestern brethren, a hot dish dinner, which is, goy slop. It's goy slop. You put slop in a dish and you feed it to goys. So he won a hot dish recipe, and in the recipe where he posted his own recipe that won the award, the ingredients included garlic powder, onion powder, and chili powder. So he's lying about not eating spices. If he's lying about that, what else is he lying about? Cui bono? Ask yourself, who benefits?
Yeah, that I'm missing good gumshoe reporting like that.
I guess he thinks chili powder is really spicy. Like he's kind of mixing up the meanings of spicy in the sense that it has spices and like seasoned versus spicy. Like when people say spicy, they mean it's hot sauce. It's like hot pepper.
Yeah. And one more from Jack Posobiec argued that Harris's comments had mocked white people. The Kamala campaign is now making videos mocking white people for not seasoning their food. A popular anti-white meme online. Not even making this up, says Posobiec. An anti-white meme. It's just like I said, like this is the corollary to why conservatives can't do political humor, because they start with a comedic premise, but then they get too mad at the thing they're supposed to be making fun of before they have to like be funny. And then they're just sputtering angry. This is like, they don't believe in like sort of playful self-deprecation at this point, because they get too angry about being attacked and saying white people don't season their food is anti-white racism.
Well, like more than that, like, all things being equal, it would be very easy to make fun of like a sort of like NGO professional activist friendly, like system of language that like the Democratic Party has adopted in certain instincts, right? It would be pretty easy for a political party opposed to the Democrats to do that. But you can't do that and like say that you're lambasting wokeness when like it's very clear you just like you want to do that but for yourself. It's just like all the Zionists who say they're against toxic identity politics. It's like, no, you're just against someone else doing it.
They all have proud Zionists.
You want to do that. You want to do that. You're not against it. You just want it only applied for yourself. So it makes a bunch of things fall flat.
It's unfair because, broadly speaking, in our culture, you can make fun of white people in a way that you can't make fun of black people if you are white. And they're saying that's not fair. I should get to make fun of black people, and no one should get to make fun of me or my race or any of our quirks or personality traits.
Also, like everything that you see on like Twitter trending is like the most racist meme you've ever seen.
Yeah.
There's plenty of that now. You can go and find it anywhere,
Also, if you think about it for just a second, like the self-deprecation, that's not actually hurting white people in any way, like economically, socially, like it's actually part of a strategy to sort of normalize the racial hierarchy that we already have and sort of give it a smiling human face. Like, us white people who still own all the money and all the property, we sure like our bland food, right? Like they don't get that that's a voicing power.
To defang a racial hierarchy that don't exist by being like, oh, like look how goofy we are. We drive a car like this.
But they just get offended by it. Like, you can't fucking make fun of us because we don't have hot sauce. You just don't get it.
I'm moving on from the Democratic side of the ticket. I do want to talk about Trump because, look, over the past couple of weeks, or at least since his near-death experience, I've been worried that our former president has sort of lost a little bit of his juice, that he
has PTSD.
He's experiencing trauma. He's confronting his mortality in a way he probably never has before, even as an 80-plus-year-old man. So it's been a bad couple of weeks for Trump, and I was beginning to worry that, the whole interview with Musk, he just was despondent and sullen the entire time. He didn't want to be there.
He started it with the shooting.
Yeah.
Dumbass Elon was like, all right, so now that we've got started after 2 hours, do you want to talk about when you almost got killed?
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, that Elon is so inept that it's like, imagine if like there was a podcast that you agreed to do and you forgot about it and it doesn't start for 2 hours because the host is like, I don't know, he fired everyone that does production for the show. And then the moment it finally starts, it's like, okay, so let's talk about the scariest thing that ever happened to you that you don't really like talking about.
What was your worst breakup?
Yeah.
Worst memory of your parents. Go.
He's like being interviewed by Hannibal Lecter, the late great Hannibal Lecter. When I went on this podcast, the first thing he asked me to share was my most traumatic memory of childhood, and he told me not to lie or else he'd know. Quid pro quo, the late great. But no, so I've been worried about Trump. However, I'm pleased to say that there was something happened over the last couple of days that snapped it right back into focus and gave me that old Trump feeling again. And I'm referring, of course, to the event he did with Miriam Adelson, where he was flanked by like a dozen Israeli flags and spoke of her receiving the Presidential Medal of Freedom as quite. I got to get the full quote here. He says,
when we gave Miriam the Presidential Medal of Freedom, that's the highest award you can get as a civilian. It's the equivalent of the Congressional Medal of Honor, but civilian version. It's actually much better because everyone gets the Congressional Medal of Honor. That's soldiers. They're either in very bad shape because they've been hit so many times by bullets or they're dead. She gets it, and she's a healthy, beautiful woman. It's very...
So, there are so many things, and okay, there's a follow up to it today where he was asked to clarify his comments on.
I just wish we could get through one event about Miriam Adelson without someone commenting on how hot she is.
So, no, this is the question. The reporter asked, "Can you clarify your comments where you said the Presidential Medal of Freedom is much better than the Congressional Medal of Honor? Many veterans are upset about that." And Trump's response was, "I would rather get it. People who get the Congressional Medal of Honor are often horribly wounded or dead. They're often dead. When you get the Medal of Freedom, it's usually for other things, like you have achieved great success." And this is like I said, this is what I mean. Like, it brought me absolutely back to Trump, because not just that he said that Miriam Adelson is better than all Medal of Honor winners while being flanked by the Israeli flag, it's him sticking to his guns. And like any other politician would have cringed away like a dog and be like, well, obviously I meant no disrespect to our wonderful veterans and soldiers and their Medal of Honor winners, blah, blah. He goes, no, I'd rather be alive and achieving great things and riddled with bullets and getting a fucking, getting a trophy.
Do you realize that this would be Miriam Adelson's second Medal of Freedom for the exact same thing?
She has Trump already gave her
Trump already gave her one for like giving
that's what
money
he's referring
to Israel. But he's saying he'll do it again.
Oh, he'll do it again, yeah.
Yeah, so she'll get 2 for the exact same thing. Like, there isn't even like a pretense of like, oh, she started Adelson's Angels, a charity for like disadvantaged pit bosses. It's like mostly for like giving money to settlements.
Yeah, and it's just like it's his refusal to back down, because like anytime he's shitting on the troops, like I think like he's gonna go up in the polls. I think Kamala should be very worried right now, but he still has the ability to go off the cuff and produce some of the funniest moments in human history, like a guy running for president standing behind the Israeli flag saying that this crone who gives billions to settlements is better than our Medal of Honor winners because she hasn't been riddled with bullets.
Think about being that guy who's running against Jackie Rosen in Nevada.
Oh, the guy with the face?
That scary pizza ghoul. That scary pizza pocket man. Think about being him and hearing that, and maybe he'll think about looking as scary as he does now that Trump said that.
Oh,
should have married a rich guy.
Yeah. And then also Trump says, people pointed this out, like, does Trump think Kamala is attractive or not? Because this is something he has flip-flopped on. Because I don't know if he's flip-flopped, but like originally he said Kamala is very beautiful and she's very pretty. But then this week he said, I'm much better looking than her. I'm a better looking person than Kamala. It's just like,
I think when he's complimenting her, he's doing his weird sarcasm thing.
Yeah.
He's like, Hillary, what a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
Oh, she looks so good.
Yeah, like that thing he did when he would talk about Bruce Orr, and he would be like, "Oh, Bruce Orr, his beautiful wife Nellie. Yeah, what a looker. Yeah, that disgusting bitch. Like anyone knew who Nellie Orr was or what she looked like. It's the same thing."
Trump, like I said, like imagine if any Democrat had made a gaffe, like saying that actually the Medal of Freedom is better than the Medal of Honor. Like think how quickly they would be disciplined. Like they would drop. Like if Kamala had made that gaffe, she would drop out of the race. And this is why I have to, like, on some level, like and respect Trump, is because he can say things that just absolutely shit on the history and honor of this country and mean it and get away with it. And everyone still loves him because the people who care most about our flag and our soldiers love Trump more than anything. So he can just say shit like this and pledge fealty to a foreign country.
Yeah, they're veterans. They follow orders. That's what they do.
Yeah.
They find the biggest guy and they do what he says. That's what they're good at.
Oh, and I just found another more commentary on the Tim Waltz thing. And this is some guy responding to the original post where this guy says, Tim Waltz is who they want you to be. Not a leader, not a strong father, not an authority, an assistant coach, an effeminate.
But he was the governor. That's a leader.
I love the idea that he just topped out an assistant coach and Kamala was like, oh, what about this guy for vice president? How would she even have found him?
A pretentious, and then he's responding to the original post by some guy named Bow-Tied Ranger. Bow-Tied Ranger. So I'm going to the guy who wears a bow tie for my advice on masculinity, but it says, he is quite literally the sum of every white male in modern commercials. Always the fool, subordinate role, fat dad, bumbling customer, ignorant questioner, cynical inquirer. And I mean, I think someone raised this today, but like the American right wing is obsessed with family relations and portrayals in TV commercials. And particularly the fact that like they think dads are always being portrayed as sort of oafish or incompetent. They're very, very tilted about that. And now with Tim Waltz, they have like an avatar of like Homer Simpson,
I saw one of these guys going like, "Oh, I bet Hollywood would never make a sitcom where like the man and woman, they're both virgins. The husband is respected and competent. The children are submissive and they follow Christian values." And it's like, that sounds like such a great show. Everyone would love that show, I'm sure. They have that. It was called Seventh Heaven, and the dad did.
And the Cosby Show.
Yeah,
he was respected. He was a doctor.
I guess a bit of international news before we go. Former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro was attacked by bees yesterday and had to abruptly end a speech he was making to a few hundred supporters. So we can add attacked by bees now into the long list of Jair Bolsonaro medical conditions, injuries, and animal attacks.
Did they attack the people around him?
No,
Or was it
I
just
saw the
him?
video. I saw the video. The bees are very concentrated on him in the video.
And the guy who was leading the rally is trying to play it off to the crowd. And like, I got a translation of this, but in Portuguese, he was like, "Look, everybody, the man is so sweet that even bees won't leave him alone." Which I thought was pretty clever. But like this is as he's choking on bees, like the candy man. He's like, they're stinging me. Fuck.
Like, how does that is he using honey on his skin?
Yeah, I have never seen like a gang of bees ignore everyone and go towards one guy like that. Like
They might be trained.
Yeah, these are Lula's bees.
Lula's bees.
I have never seen such like a one-sided war waged by animals. Like it seems like all the animals got together and decided they're all going to kill this guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't be in South America if animals hated me that much.
Yeah.
South America, Australia, basically the entire southern hemisphere I'm staying away from if I have made an enemy of the animal kingdom.
He should never leave Jose Aldo's guest bedroom with the minion guest bedroom.
And Felix, I did see you found the Bolsonaro friend account who said, please pray for Jair, friends.
Yeah.
He is being transferred to another hospital and might have to go through surgery. God is with you, Captain Bolsonaro. And it's a sad little frog.
Well, that is an old one. That is from like 8 hospitalizations ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was when the capybara ran him over. It just knocked him over. He hit his head.
Yeah, that was one of like if I recall correctly, one of those hospitalizations where they were like getting poop out of him.
Yeah, putting better poop back inside of him. They're taking out the bad poop and putting in the good poop.
That's a real thing. There are stool transplants, and like if anyone would get them, it would be either Brock Lesnar or Jair Bolsonaro.
Maybe that's what the bees are trying to get. They're trying to get all that good shit inside of him. Trying to build the honeycomb inside of his body and all the good stool that he currently has.
They gave him diarrhea as a stool transplant. They took out solids and put in liquids. And it was very sweet. That's what attracted the bees.
All right. Let's wrap it up there for today's show. We are, like I said, Felix, Chris, and I, we're all heading to Chicago tomorrow. And on Wednesday night, we'll be joined by TrueAnon for our official DNC show. It's sold out, but I hope to see you in Chicago. Hope to say hi if you see me around walking on the streets or at the show. But we'll see you Wednesday night in Chicago at the DNC. And before we leave, Chris, we have a couple of announcements.
Yes, just a few quick announcements on ongoing projects. First, because I've gotten a few requests about it. Earlier this summer, I announced a video series from Vic Berger and his editing crew that led with the teaser, The Silence of the Lamb supercut, which I can't believe how relevant that has continued to be. Trump loves the Silence of the Lamb riff. But unfortunately, Vic had to drop out of doing the rest of the series due to a personal family member. And of course, all love to Vic and his family, so we respect him, but there will not be any more of the Phantom of Mar-a-Lago series at this time. We might revisit it in the future. Who knows? But on ongoing projects that are definitely happening, I announced it in July, but Matt's Spanish Civil War book, the final manuscript was delivered on Friday. We are going into production soon. I am hoping that September will be the pre-order month. And again, if you didn't hear the first announcement, we are turning some of Matt's unproduced podcast scripts for his Spanish Civil War series into a book, a hardcover book of Matt's history of the Spanish Civil War that will be available for purchase. We are making all of our sales as a 1-month pre-order, and then we'll send whatever is ordered to the manufacturer and produce all of those. We will make copious announcements about when you can buy the book. But the work John White did on the design looks amazing. The book is going to be beautiful, and all proceeds will go to Matt and his family. So to help him in his recovery. And Matt's very excited about getting the book out, and we are very excited about delivering it to you. So hopefully within the next few weeks, we will start getting those orders underway.
Very good news. Huzzah. And that does it for today. We'll see Chicago. We're coming to you. See you soon, everybody.